Doctor Doom and the multiversal collapse. Okay, picture this for a second. The absolute end of, well, everything. We're not talking about a single city falling, or even just one planet. We're talking about the total, violent collapse of reality itself. In this explainer, we're diving deep into the darkest, most terrifying corners of Marvel's cosmology. We're looking at a cosmic threat so unbelievably massive that it literally shatters universes. And more importantly, we're looking at the terrifying steel-clad figure who steps out of those ashes. Not to destroy what's left, mind you, but to rule it.
So what actually happens when the multiverse simply runs out of time? It's a pretty chilling thought, right? Because when the walls between alternate realities start breaking down, the stakes go entirely apocalyptic. Imagine looking up and the sky is just blood red. Dimensions are breaching their boundaries, and heroes, the ones we always count on, are forced to face the horrifying reality that their universe is actually dying. But here's the real question. When the end of all things is quite literally knocking at the door, who exactly steps up to save reality? Well, the answer is as complex as it is dangerous.
Part 1. The death of reality. The incursions begin. You know, to truly understand the Savior, we first have to wrap our heads around the catastrophe. See, the death of reality, it didn't just happen by accident. It was actually this highly orchestrated experiment by a mysterious, unbelievably powerful race that exists entirely outside the conventional multiverse. They're known as the Beyonders. Their ultimate goal? To bring about the end of absolutely everything. And honestly, their method was terrifyingly brilliant. They placed a version of a man named Owen Reese, better known as the Molecule Man, into every single reality. They essentially turned him into a living, breathing, universe-ending bomb.
Now, what is an incursion? The real terror of an incursion is all about that ticking clock finality. When these alternate realities contract, they get put on a direct, unavoidable collision course. Suddenly, you look up and there's a second Earth hovering in your sky, and you have exactly 8 hours. If that collision isn't stopped within that window, both Earths and their entire respective universes are completely annihilated. It's a brutal phenomenon, and it forced Marvel's greatest heroes into making impossible, world-destroying moral choices. Groups like the Illuminati and Namor's Cabal had to ask themselves a truly haunting question. To save your own world, are you actually willing to obliterate someone else's?
The escalation of all this was just staggering. First, the Molecule Men are created as these living bombs. Then, universes start to contract. After that comes the terrifying 8-hour alignments. And here's the tragic part. Every single time an Earth was destroyed just to prevent an incursion, it really only bought them a little bit of time. The multiverse just kept contracting, incursions started happening faster and faster, and the lifespan of reality itself rapidly shortened. All of this escalated right into an inevitable, absolutely terrifying climax, the final collision. Earth 616, the primary Marvel universe that we know and love, on a direct, unstoppable collision course with Earth 1610, the ultimate universe. The multiverse, as they knew it, was officially over.
Part 2. The Mind of a Savior. The Psychology of Victor Von Doom. So, with reality literally fracturing into pieces all around them, the heroes failed. But someone else didn't. We now have to shift our focus to the only man who is arrogant, brilliant, and utterly ruthless enough to intervene at the end of everything. We really need to peel back that metal armor and look deep into the psychology of a man who genuinely, truly believes that in a dying universe, he is the only rightful savior.
You've probably heard the saying, the greatest villain is often the hero of his own story. Well, to even begin to understand Doom, you absolutely have to understand his trauma. He was born in a Romani camp in Latveria, and his childhood was just defined by profound, devastating loss. His mother died after making a desperate bargain with dark forces, and then his father ended up sacrificing himself just to protect Victor from persecution. Out of all this immense grief, Victor drew a pretty chilling conclusion. He decided that the world rewards neither kindness nor justice, and therefore absolutely no one else is capable of fixing this deeply broken world but him.
If you had to boil down his defining psychological trait into 2 words, it would be absolute certainty. The man possesses a massive, almost incomprehensible savior complex. It's this overwhelming belief that he is personally responsible for rescuing others, and he completely disregards whether they actually consent to his help or not. He's driven by intense grandiosity, a flawless perfectionism, and this trauma-induced obsession with total control. See, he doesn't want to just destroy humanity, not at all. He genuinely believes that his authoritarian rule is the absolute fastest, most efficient path to world peace. He is, without a doubt, the ultimate anti-villain. Part 3. Peace but not freedom. The Gilded Cage of Latveria. Before he ever tried to step up and save the entire multiverse, Doom essentially test drove his authoritarian philosophy on a much smaller scale, his very own homeland. This small Eastern European nation really became the living, breathing embodiment of Victor von Doom's geopolitical and psychological conquest.
If you look at Latveria's history, it is a centuries-long saga of violent, chaotic instability. It was founded way back in the 14th century by the Hassan dynasty, and from there it just suffered through generations of royal succession disputes. By the 15th century, it was a totally fractured kingdom. Add to that the constant foreign interference, like the Fortunato family ruling under massive pressure from Nazi forces during World War II, and you get the picture. It is exactly this chaotic, blood-soaked history that made Doom absolutely obsessed with the idea of national sovereignty. He looked at his broken home and simply decided that only his iron fist could actually mend it.
So upon returning to Latveria, Doom just straight up overthrew the existing king and transformed the entire nation into this incredible technological marvel. But it is very much a gilded cage. Yes, he fiercely protects his citizens, no one goes hungry, and absolutely no outside force can ever hope to invade them. But the cost for that safety, it is total, unquestioning obedience. It's a highly surveilled, strictly controlled regime where the citizens are, they're safe, but they are decidedly not free.
Part 4. Science, Magic, and Rivalry, the Ultimate Conflict. Now, to enforce that exact kind of authoritarian peace, you need a staggering, unparalleled level of power. And Victor? He isn't just a ruler. He is a total intellectual anomaly who outright refuses to rely on just one single source of strength.
He possesses this truly terrifying dual mastery. On one side of the coin, you have his genius-level scientific intelligence. We're talking force field-equipped armor that rivals and very often entirely exceeds the very best technology on Earth. But then, on the other side of the coin, he is an absolute master of sorcery and mysticism. It makes him incredibly hard to beat. If you try to attack him with advanced cosmic technology, he counters you with ancient magic. If you try to use the supernatural against him, he just deflects it with cutting-edge robotics. He has perfectly insulated himself against almost any conceivable threat.
But, as we all know, even a man armed with absolute certainty has a weakness, and for Doom, that weakness is an intellectual one. His bitter, decades-long vendetta against Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, is frankly legendary. Now, on the surface, Doom blames Reed for the university accident that originally scarred his face. But if you look deeper than that, it's really because he views Reed as his only true intellectual equal in the universe. It's this massive rivalry born of immense pride, and honestly, it's the one single thing that can consistently blind him.
Part 5. God Emperor of Battleworld, the Eighth Cosmos. Alright, so when those incursions finally reached their apocalyptic end, when the Avengers officially failed and the multiverse literally shattered into nothingness, Doom's ambitions scaled up. He went from ruling a single small country to ruling reality itself.
How exactly did he pull that off? Well, it is a jaw-dropping sequence of pure cosmic theft. Doom realized pretty quickly that it couldn't just stop the all-powerful Beyonders head-on, so he had to move incredibly fast. Step 1, he captured the Molecule Men, remember those living multiversal bombs? And he completely weaponized them. Step 2, he used them to literally strip the Beyonders of their omnipotent power, just taking the whole shebang entirely for himself. And then, with reality reduced to absolutely nothing but fragmented rocks floating in a dark void, Doom used the stolen ultimate power to reconstruct existence entirely by his own design.
He created Battleworld. It was this massive, bizarre patchwork reality, entirely assembled from the shattered remnants of dead, collided universes. And here on Battleworld, he wasn't just some monarch, he was God Emperor Doom. He saved reality, yes, absolutely, but true to form, he wiped the memories of all the survivors, ensuring that they worshipped him as their one true creator and deity. It was the ultimate terrifying realization of a savior complex. Peace in existence, yes, but completely and utterly under his absolute control. That is, at least, until Reed Richards and a tiny handful of surviving heroes eventually managed to overthrow him, turning that very same cosmic power around to restore the multiverse as the Eighth Cosmos.
Part 6. Doomsday Approaches, the MCU's looming threat. So you might be wondering, why does all of this incredibly dense cosmic lore actually matter to us right now? Well, it's because this massive, reality-bending storyline is officially making its way to the silver screen, and it is going to completely reshape the Marvel Cinematic Universe as we know it.
As you probably know, the MCU was originally heading straight toward a massive battle with Kang the Conqueror. But in a shocking, entirely unprecedented pivot, Marvel Studios brought back directors Anthony and Joe Russo, and they dropped a truly mind-blowing casting announcement. Stepping out from behind that iconic metal mask was none other than Robert Downey Jr., returning to the MCU not as the hero who started it all, but as Victor Von Doom, the ultimate architect of the multiverse's salvation and its total subjugation.
Just take a second to consider the sheer cinematic scale that is going to be required to face a threat like God Emperor Doom. Just like in the Secret Wars comics, universes are colliding. We are going to see an unprecedented, massive ensemble of heroes converging across completely different realities. We're talking the Earth 616 Avengers and Wakandan warriors, teaming up with the Fantastic Four from Earth 828, and incredibly, getting the original Fox X-Men from a completely separate universe involved. It's going to be absolutely massive.
All of this is actively building toward a massive, completely existential showdown. Avengers Doomsday is slated for release in December 2026. This movie is going to pick up the broken pieces of a fractured multiverse and set the ultimate stage. These colliding realities are going to have to unite, or they're going to face absolute permanent erasure at the hands of Doom.
Which leaves us with one final, really haunting thought. When the sky turns red and the universe is literally collapsing around you, Victor Von Doom might actually be the very last person capable of saving existence. But, as we've seen from the heavily surveilled Gilded Cage of Latveria, all the way up to the patchwork